kind of mentioned an intuition. Is there a mathematical intuition that you could elaborate on and bring us in on here?
Sure, sure. When you're trying to understand a model or make a model, even as a physicist, you want to know. Now, this seems really the intuition of a mathematician sometimes is maybe, well, it's developed over years, but the idea is that you want something that you know. Suppose you want to put together some equations to describe a physical law, physical occurrence. Well, what you need to do is then this is about as exciting as watching paint dry, but what you need to do is you need to show that a solution will exist and that it's the only such solution. Or if there are other solutions that also exist at the same time. So these are extremely powerful things to do even before you start, proving something, even before you start. So you can do some calculations and get an idea about something. But once you've done so much calculations, you've happened upon now a model that you believe is explaining things, then you need to show that it has an existence. And that doesn't mean, so when we mean existence and uniqueness, it means what? You're going to use a high-speed computer to compute an answer. You're going to compute it using your pen and paper. Are they the same? So suppose I went ahead and wrote out an answer to some equation and solved the equation. Let's say, how hot it's going to be in a room with initial temperatures 50 degrees and the temperature in the air is Fick's law. And so in 15 minutes, what happened to the temperature if the room's, let's say, held at 50 degrees on all the walls? Well, I could probably do that by hand, but I could also do it by computer, should the answers match. And you have to tell me that without computing anything. Okay, I have an intuition of how to do that. Okay, that's a mathematical intuition. That is higher math, where you go ahead and without calculating a dang thing, show that there is a solution and it is unique. Okay, that is a mathematical intuition. How you get there? Well, you put on your Banach space glasses and you go to work in infinite dimensional space, and you find energy minimizers, and you can use those, whatever that means, to show uniqueness, or you use fixed point theorems to show the uniqueness. But these tools have been honed in the last 120, 150 years so that they're now able to deploy that. So when I look at Maxwell's equations, sometimes I'm in Banach space. That's an infinite dimensional space. It's complete, whatever that means. And there's a rule saying there's plenty of room in Banach space, or I think it's plenty of room in Hilbert space. That's another infinite dimensional space. But yes, there is an intuition. And so, we're not always calculating, or adding stuff up. But I think one of the most important things we do is we show that for certain problems there is a solution, or for certain problems as posed there is no solution, without solving anything. Okay, just casing it out, and these techniques are always being developed. They're underdeveloped right now for all kinds of different areas. But so that's kind of a mathematic intuition that no one ever sees. Okay, but this is really fundamental, actually, in the advancement of math.
Are there any other research projects that you'd like to talk about that have piqued your interest or that you're really deep into?
Okay, yeah. So I'm interested in multi-scale modeling. That is how various things at small length scales affect, let's say, the things at physical length scales, like where we live. So we live on feet and whatnot. We live on these length scales, and we're kind of used to playing baseball or softball or basketball or, whatever, right? And so, but at the same time, we know that these ride on processes that are subscale and are ramifications of subscale processes. So I'm always interested in this type of problem. So in particular, this has led me to a problem of fracture. And so there, it's like, well, why do cracks grow in otherwise nice stuff? Okay. And the answer is, well, you've got to put some force on them and maybe, rip them up. So there's beautiful theories on small deformations, or you take paper and you move it around. It's 2 points on a piece of paper can be moved and then moved back. And so those are elastic equations. But what happens when you're ripping stuff apart? Extreme deformations. So what is a piece of material doing as it's getting ripped apart? Can I keep track of it? Is there a way, an equation that would keep track of every particle as you're ripping something apart? And so I'm working now with equations to do such things. And what am I doing? I'm using my mathematical intuition to prove existence and uniqueness. Okay, that's like watching paint dry. But if no one ever knew it and someone's doing a computation and they get an answer, okay, is that really an answer? Okay, should I be comparing it to an experiment? Yeah, you better. But should this even, suppose I do it on a computer and then I do it on refine, they call it, refining the mesh, do it a little bit finer, a little bit finer. Am I converging to some limit truth? Well, that's what I work on right now is, yes, when is it that you will converge on a limit truth? What are your fixed point theorems? What are your energy minimizers? Why does a crack like to look like it looks? And then you want to connect up this new theory. So there is a theory. Basically, it's based on interactions between material points, as you would imagine, but the global ramifications of it would be a crack in some places and not a crack in other places. And you just want to hit a button on a computer and find that out. Okay, so that's what I'm working on right now. And we've connected it with more classical theories in many instances, but there's plenty of work to be done. This is still, I wouldn't get in a plane and fly on a plane that was using this theory to design where the cracks are just yet. So that's the ultimate test of a theory is like, would you stand under a bridge if you build it using this theory, So, but on the other hand, somebody's got to do it. If we're going to improve our standard of living, why not?